YouTube! Welcome back to the Every Closet. My name is Stephanie, and along with my partner Ethan, we are two full-time resellers of used clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. So join us for that journey, and in today's video, we are continuing with a series that we are planning to do for a while, and that is the BOLO Alphabet. If you haven't seen either the first video, although you don't have to watch them in order, but if you haven't seen the introduction video explaining what I'm doing here, talking about all these BOLO brands to you, please check that out. Ethan can link it up here. That will make a lot more sense of what's going on here. So we're just going to go back into it. I'm going to tell you about some BOLO brands and we're all going to learn a lot. Next is a Knack. It is another very sustainable focused brand, of course. Their style they call boheme and relaxed. They say they're committed to empowering local craftspeople, especially disadvantaged women, and preserving ancient textile techniques through ongoing partnerships with nonprofit organizations in India, Bolivia, and beyond. So they're very big on oversized, comfortable, flowy fit clothing and hand-spun fabrics. The main thing to pay attention to in this brand are their dresses, especially the ones that are tiered. That's a very signature look for this brand. The items sell usually between $200 to $600 retail, with most dresses falling in the $400 to $500 range. Comps for resale dresses are very strong, over $100 easily, some reaching over $200 or $300 resale, super impressive. Their non-dresses seem to be the most of the comps under $100, but obviously I would still grab those pieces for the right cost of goods, just maybe wouldn't pay up for this brand unless it was a dress, because those sell great. Next is Ancient Greek Sandals. This brand makes exactly what it sounds like, ancient Greece style sandals. I'm going to quote again here. Established in 2012, Ancient Greek Sandals are a modern footwear label for both men and women, inspired by traditional Greek myth and style. The label is focused on creating wearable and laid-back sandals using local artisans and traditional techniques. They make women's and men's and kids' sandals mainly, but also known for their clogs. They also make bags, and they're not cheap either retail, but there's not a lot on the resale market. Resale for the sandals is between $200 and $400, a bit more for clogs and a bit high for the knee-high sandals. Let's go over comps. Most of their sandals will resell between $30 and $60. There's a few exceptions, things that people are tagging as rare, going for more. The clogs are way less common, but do seem to sell for a bit higher, and the bags have like 2 comps between eBay and Poshmark, so I don't really know how those resell yet. There's nothing out there on the resale marketplace for bags of theirs, but I would pick this up at the thrift and at the bins, and I would look up the specific style at a consignment store, or if anyone's charging over like $10 for it. They have a lot of wings on the back of their sandals, and I think people really like those. Next is Andamane. It's actually called the Andamane, or Andamane, however that's pronounced. But for the entirety of this list, if a brand is called the blank, I'm just going to put the word that comes after the as the first letter. That way we don't have like a 400 brand section in the T for the. Anyway, the Andamane is carried at all the high-end retailers, Forward, which is basically just fancier Revolve, Farfetch, Ukes, even the Bay. It's an Italian brand and they use a lot of color, pops of color. The retail's very high, like $400 to $800 for most pieces. Though just now when I'm looking it up, I see that a lot of the retailers have it on sale, so that's maybe not a good sign. Resale comps are sparse, like there aren't a ton of them. But last one fall between the $50 to $90 range. Their dresses are most of the comps, but the highest comps are a Sherpa jacket that they made a while back, so check your piece that you're holding, but definitely worth a try if you find it most places. Next is Anderson & Lauf, known among resellers for being carried at Anthropology, although they aren't currently being carried there, and I believe they're an Icelandic brand, and if that's accurate, then they've been around since the 1930s. There's really little search results for them online. When you search, it comes up almost all resale platforms. So let's just go over their resale then. Comps are between $30 and $60, which is pretty good for anthro-related comps, tier 3 or 4 around there. The best comps are on their knitwear, sweaters, kimonos, jackets, etc. I wouldn't even bother picking up just a plain t-shirt or something from this brand. but if it's good material knitwear, totally reasonable as long as you're paying around $10 or less. Next is Anderson Bell. This is a Korean brand. It says it's streetwear combined with Scandinavian minimalism, which is a cool combo. Although I kind of disagree with the minimalism because their pieces have a ton of color and interesting shapes and prints. So anyway, not what I'd consider minimalist, but whatever. That's what they said, and what do I know? Their pieces resale between $250 to $650 mostly, and their resale is, well, it's all over the place. But there's a ton of very promising comps. I would say especially look out for this brand's jackets, color block sweaters, and purses. But yes, comps go between, $35 and $350, heavily skewed to the under $100 mark so far. I think I should push as high as you can, so do with this what you will. Andrea Ayama. This is another brand named after its designer, who's Nigerian. She launched the label in 2011, and it now operates out of Toronto, Lagos, and New York. They make all sorts of women's clothing, but in 2013, their swimwear line in particular took off, and now they're known for their resort type of style. Most items retail between $200 to $500. Even the bathing suit sets are like $300 retail. They also make wedding dresses now, which are the priciest set that they carry, but not a lot of comps for resale on those. Comps range in the $50 to $150 range. I would expect a piece to easily sell over $75 as long as it's in great condition. Just scrolling comps, I'm becoming a huge fan of this brand. Oh my god, the leaves on the bikinis, I really love that. Okay, let's move on though. I need to move on. Next is Andrew Mark. This is a designer for Whammons. I keep saying Whammons. Stupid PewDiePie. Andrew Mark is a designer for men's and women's fashion that's been around since 1982. We actually had a few pieces. Here are those two pieces. One was a leather jacket. It sold almost immediately for $80 US or 90, I don't know. And then a women's dress that no one wants. No one's ever liked it. No one likes it. No one wants this. It has actually taught me a lot, and it totally follows the comps for this brand. Looking through comps, it's obvious that the best thing from this brand to sell is their men's leather jackets, women's leather jackets as well. They retail around $500, and their jackets in general are what you should be boloing from this brand, where most of their other clothes are regular lower prices. They own a diffusion line, Mark New York, which I would basically treat the same as Andrew Mark. Look for their jackets, ignore everything else, leather jackets especially. And when you're reselling them, they should sell pretty well between $50 and $150 used. Men's or women's. The brand name I don't think is what's pulling people into these jackets. I think they're being drawn to the high quality materials with this one. So they're just looking for like a good solid leather jacket. Next is Angel of the North, another very classic Anthropology brand. They are an older Anthropology brand, so they don't have any pieces being carried by them in 2022, and they've had tons over the years. They make a lot of cardigans and knitwear. That's kind of their specialty. I think I put it on tier 2, so, a lower Anthro Bolo brand when we went back over it on my Instagram. But that was maybe 10 months ago now. I wish comps were higher, but they just aren't. Unless you have new tags items, expect it to sell for around $10 to $50 max. There are a few standout pieces, like longer cardigans or jackets, but even those max out around $80. So don't pull up past Stephanie and pay $15 for an Angel of the North sweater, and it still hasn't sold, in case you were curious. Next is Angela Roy. This is a vegan handbag brand. They talk a lot about morals of vegan leather on their website. I have no opinions. I'm just here to tell you that this is what the label looks like, and that the bags retail between $200 to $300 USD. The resale value for these bags is ridiculously good. They only retail for like $300 max, but there are many, many comps over $100 for the resold bags. Someone sold a used little hand strap, like a detachable wrist clip, for $33 by this brand. It kind of looks like their own website is the only place to get these bags, peeking around online, and they do sell out of their collections, so that might be what's happening here. Maybe that's why the resale market's hotter, but I'm definitely on the lookout for it, and you should be too. Next is Nema Iris. It's designed by a black female designer who was born in Cameroon and grew up in the States. It's actually our second entirely purses and bags line in a row. That's very unlikely. This brand is extra fun because when you look it up, the main two things that come up about it are articles like 25-year-old turns her side hustle into a 100K per month business, which obviously is the dream. That is the dream. And also hashtag Beyonce approved. So both fun things. The first is retail between $350 to $700. This brand is very new. It launched in 2020, like a new brand. So the resale market is not at all populated. I think we can fit all the Poshmark comps into like one screenshot. But hey, they are all over $100. And scrolling through the ones that haven't sold, they have a ton of likes as well. So I don't imagine this label is slowing down anytime soon. And I would BOLO it in almost all circumstances. Next is Amina Mori. Oops, this is totally out of alphabetical order. Ah, and so early. Oh, that's sad. Maybe Ethan can fix that in post. Oh God. Anyway, this brand is freaking nuts. The designer is Paris-based and grew up in Jordan, Italy, and Romania. It launched very recently again, like 2020 and post-2020, and they are known and revered for their shoes. But they now do also have a bag and jewelry line, as well as a collab of tights and bodysuits with Wolford randomly. Super famous for being worn by celebrities, Rihanna, the Jenners, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, etc., all the very high fashion people. The shoes retail between $1,000 and $2,000, and so do the bags, and the jewelry is actually the lowest, although that likely depends on what gems they put in them. The shoes are most of the comps right now, and they have this little like mermaid flared out heel, and certain styles do better than others, but scrolling comps is an exercise for my eye-widening muscles. $300 is the least I would accept for a pair of these shoes. Yes, used. And comps go up to 1,000. And newer tags ones can essentially sell for basically just right under their retail price, which is absolutely nuts. We're talking like Alex Perry levels of nuts. If for some reason you aren't writing these brands down, just write this one down. Or maybe this and Alex Perry. Just write those down and tape them to your mirror until you have them memorized. Next is Animals Observatory. It's actually the Animals Observatory. And this is our first, I think, exclusively kids clothing brand. It launched in 2015 and it carries baby, kids clothes all the way up to preteenish ages. Their style is very baggy meets preppy meets tons of color and a whole bunch of character in every piece, kind of hipstery. They retail between $65 and $140 retail and resell for approximately $20 to $50 depending on the piece. It might do better on Citizen. I didn't check there because as far as I know, Canadians don't have access to that. Anyway, most thrifts charge very little for kids items, so that would make this a really awesome flip. Just don't pay more than like $5 for a piece probably, but most places wouldn't charge more. Maybe. Next is a NineBing. If you know high fashion and you don't know a NineBing, well then I'm confused. It launched in 2012 and it is an LA-based, and the founder, a NineBing, was a blogger and a model and a singer before launching one of the most successful high fashion brands in the world. Sorry, I just need a moment to really like experience this intense jealousy. Okay, cool. This brand makes all levels of apparel, shoes, bags, clothing. They even have a candle in their most recent collection on sale for $220. So the retail hits usually around $500, give or take a few hundred. The highest priced pieces are actually their jewelry, which isn't a huge line, but 'tis pricey. Comps are, say it with me, all over the place. Most pieces, minimum resale value should be around $40, and that is for super basics like plain tank tops. And most should go between $90 to $400, the highest ones generally being jackets, certain bags, oversized blazers, boots, leather jackets especially. Just probably never leave this behind, honestly. I wouldn't. Next is Mashburn. This is a women's clothing line. It started in 2010. She began it after her husband, Sid Mashburn, started his own menswear brand named Sid Mashburn. And now they kind of have those dual lines for men's and women's out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I believe the Sid man also worked for J. Crew and a few similar lines like that. So it's a very similar, like they look kind of preppy. Anne's line retails between $200 to $400 and comps go right around the $35 to $65 range mostly, with some higher and some lower. I think her dresses, certain sweaters and jackets seem to sell the best, like most brands. I wouldn't be paying up for this brand, but I would definitely stop to check a piece over at the thrift or at the bins. but I'm not paying more than $15. Next, Anna Mason. Anna held a prestigious design role at Karl Lagerfeld in Paris and Max Mara and Valentino in Italy. She then returned to London, working for Amanda Wakeley and consulting for various brands before releasing her first collection under her own name in 2012. She and her brand are London-based, and they make women's designer clothing in the realm of semi-formal attire, mostly dresses, but also blouses, jackets, etc. Their pieces retail between $400 and $1,400, following a logical path from less substantial pieces at the low end and then dresses and jackets at the higher end. There are like 6 comps on Poshmark, and same with eBay. So there's not a ton of data, but the comps I do see are super encouraging, most of them over $100, though some are new with tags. I would pick this up probably under most circumstances if I came across it. I mean, if something's going to retail for over $1,000, I'm going to give it a shot. Next is Anna October. This is a Ukrainian women's wear label founded in 2010. They're known primarily for their dresses, though they do make other clothing and have a very flowy, feminine aesthetic. Retail is between $500 and $800, a bit less for non-dress pieces, though still high. Comps are high, wonderfully high. We're talking $90 to $300 for used pieces, and some dresses can even go higher. There aren't a ton of comps as of yet, so I can't guarantee anything for you. Well, I never can, but I would pay up for an Anna October dress or other piece if I saw one. That's my personal stance on it right now. Next is Anna Sui. Anna Sui is a Chinese-American designer. Her first fashion line was in 1981. And she's had something like 86 fashion lines since then. So super well-known and established designer brand. The label's known for contemporary original pieces inspired by research into vintage pieces as well as cultural arcana. So lots of quirky, fun, colorful pieces. There are vintage Anna Sui pieces, and those can actually hold a bit more value than the recent ones, depending. You know, there's kind of a sweet spot with brands this old where like pre-2000, it's vintage and it's sought after, but 2003 to 2015 is kind of just dated. And then ultra recent is more sought after again. So what I do need to caution you against for this brand is picking up Anna Sui for Target. Yes, those do exist, and I wouldn't personally pick them up ever. Anna Sui has also had lines with Anthropology. Those are a higher tier in terms of Anthropology comps, but still lower than just Anna Sui alone. Her name holds more cachet than Anthros does, or in the States at least. So comps are all over the map. I can't really search eBay or Posh for, but please don't put Target collabs. And she also did a collab with O'Neill, which can sell, just again, not for the prices of her original solo pieces. So definitely look up the piece that you have. Some Free People collabs can do really well from her, and also anything from the Anna Sui collection, like the runway collection. Anything where you find runway photos does very well. And yeah, it's a big old mishmash because it's an older brand with a ton of collections and all perform quite differently. So look up your specific piece. Anna Kwan. Anna Kwan is a brand by Australian designer Anna Huang, launched in 2011. It is known for its tailoring cotton knitwear pieces and elevating basics like button-down shirts and using mostly solid colors. Most of her women's clothing sells between $200 to $500 retail. All women's clothing comps are reasonably high, especially for their jackets. Those have the highest comps around $200, and I even see comps for a plain ribbed t-shirt, like plain, just a t-shirt, reselling for $80. So I don't think you'd ever have to let a piece from this brand go for less than $70, even though obviously people have in the comps, but ignore those people, aim high to the moon. Good brand. Okay, next is Annabelle Engel. Annabelle Engel is another purses and bags only label, although now I'm seeing a few shoes and straw hats as well. Their website has 3 sections: neoprene bags, pebble leather bags, and vegetable leather bags. All have quite high retail, the neoprene being the lowest at around $170, and then the leather, regardless of plant or animal bags, go up to around $500. They're Australian based, if I didn't say that. Comps for a pre-owned bag range around $50 to $120, and I get these at the thrift or the bins or consignment stores, depending on how accurately the consignment stores are pricing these items. You know, the more accurate to their resale value, the less I can source it to flip. Next is Mulmester. I think I'm saying that right. This is the label of Belgian designer Anne Verhelst. It began in 1985. It's a luxury men's and women's clothing lines. Her collections launch annually at the Paris Fashion Week. And they mostly retail over $1,000 to a maximum of around like $5,000 for some of their jackets. Comps are solid for this brand. Any item from this brand should contain a resale value over $100 easily. Jackets and boots are the most valuable, especially black calf or knee-length boots, which have multiple comps over $700 for resold ones. So basically, pick this up anywhere you find it and do me a solid and laugh in the face of any of the lowball offers you get to help preserve this lovely brand's great resale value. Next is Annefontaine. It is a women's fashion brand as per usual. The company is based in France and its products include clothing, shoes, handbags, and accessories. It launched in 1993. They're known best for their iconic white blouses. I'll put up some photos for Ethan to add so you know what I mean. These retail around $400 to $500, and their other pieces retail between $300 and $900. Shoes and dresses the highest on that end. Honestly, after all that prelude, comps are pretty underwhelming. Most items sell between $40 and $70 resale, although there are quite a few comps above $100. There's also some around $20, so I'm not going to be paying up for any Annefontaine pieces unless they're new at tags, and even then, the tag had better say the retail price on it because the name is just not pulling well enough. Annette Gotz is a label named after its German designer that was launched back in 1984. The label is known as being avant-garde and unobtrusive non-colors, which is an amusing way to put that. She makes a lot of oversized cuts too, not a lot of form-fitting in the line. It's all very expensive, $200 to $900. Comps are not that great, especially the sell-through rate. I think that might be because it's mainly sold in Europe, so maybe it has less recognition here, but I see a ton of people listing things for over $100, and I only see 12 solds, and they only have 2 of them that have reached over $100, and the rest are around 50. So do not pay up for this brand. Just know the name if you see it, and who knows, certain pieces are performing well, so we'll watch and see if that trend continues, but for now, it's a mid-ish tier BOLO brand. Next is Anthropology, and okay, in this one, we are just going over items sold at Anthropology under their own tag. So the back of the neck tag will say Anthropology, and that's it. They've had a few tags over the years. Let's see if I can grab that graphic that I made from the oldest to the newest up on my Instagram, although that was a few months ago, but still good variations on the tag. Anthropology's own label is one of their best sellers and resellers. I believe that's because shoppers can be very certain that items with this tag were actually authentically from Anthropology, and that's not always true on the resale market for a bunch of other sub-brands. So most pieces retail $90 to $200 range, and the resale is very heavily dependent on the piece. It is hard to scroll through comps because everyone tags the sub-brands as Anthropology, which is totally fair. So that would be a lot of a misleading video scroll. When I'm looking at comps, they usually fall in the range of $30 to $65, depending on the piece. Same as most Anthro, don't pay too much, but for the right piece at the right price, I'm grabbing it almost every time. And of course, newer tags, grab it faster. Next is Annotello Today. I don't know. This is a London-based designer. The website has all sorts of info about how they're all eco-friendly and their loom that weaves their fabrics, etc. They're known mostly for their bags, though they make women's clothing too. Almost all of the comps are for their bags, though, so let's probably just talk about those because I'm not seeing any for clothing. The bags retail $400 to $600, and the resale is solid, often over $100, and I've seen even up to $300, and that's for used bags, so that's pretty solid value retention. I'd recommend picking this up if you can find it under $30, maybe even $40. Any of their bags? Heck yes. Anthony Luciano. He is a New York-based Italian designer of bags, originally for women, but now they do also have men's bags, briefcases and stuff. The label launched in 2000, what I consider right on the cusp of modern. So technically, I don't know, no vintage pieces, though I know that date when vintage starts is different by people's different definitions. I digress. He makes bags out of rare materials, python, alligator, ostrich, and they retail for what you'd expect for alligator bags, $1,000 to $6,000. The crocodile ones sell for the most, or alligator. But the comps are quite low as $40, which is ridiculous compared to their retail. But there are a few hopeful comps over $200. Same on eBay, lots of listings and only a few have sold. Maybe these belong on Etsy or on an auction site or something, but I wouldn't pay up for these thinking you can flip them on eBay or Poshmark because they're worth so much more than the comps that I'm seeing here. So I'm not sure where you should sell these, but I kind of don't think it's on either of these platforms. But know about it, because if you come across a $6,000 crocodile bag, you gotta pick it up. I don't know what you're gonna do with it, what you're gonna get for it, but you gotta pick it up, am I right? Next is AntiSocial Social Club. This is a classic streetwear category bolo. It's been around since 2015, and it was popularized after being worn by Kim Kardashian and some of the members of BTS. That helps. It was incredibly popular, and I'm guessing it still has a very high sell-through rate, but the price portion of the comps just isn't as strong as I want it to be personally. This is another brand that I've known about since I started reselling. I've been looking for it ever since. I've never found it. And now checking comps, I'm worried I might have missed the boat of when it was most valuable. Although I think I just want this brand to be worth more because the founder made it in a creative response to his personal mental health struggles when he was 27. And hot damn if that doesn't inspire and reflect my own little anxious life. But yeah, the resale is between $70 and $250. So that contributes a lot to the resale value. And the t-shirts can sell for probably a minimum of $30, and the sweatshirts and hoodie can sell for $50 to $100, which is actually a huge retention of value. I think I just had this idea in my head of it being worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but no, that is not the case. But I'm still going to be picking this up unless I'm being charged up a ton, which honestly would happen at my thrift, so maybe I won't ever pick this up. Battic is a French designer brand founded in 1992 by Gabriella Cortese. Since the very beginning, she has been cultivating her own very authentic style of boho chic. So, by my previous definition of the year 2000, yes, some vintage pieces, but I'm not sure I'd go so far as to call anything by this brand vintage. It's on the cusp. They're very textured and colorful women's clothing and dresses, tons of embroidery. Retail is in the $200 to $600 range, although it does often go on sale. It has been carried as well at Anthropology and Free People before, but I don't really consider this an anthro brand mainly. I'd consider it Antique Battic, and I would recommend tagging it under its own brand name. Comps are impressive, often in the 45 to 75 range with multiple over 100, especially coats or embroidered bags, new tags, and maxi dresses with lots of embroidery detail. Those are the best, and I would pick this up at the thrift, the bins, or consignment stores if they're having a real good sale. Next is Anupama. This is a brand that has been carried in Anthropology that I would consider calling a heavily associated with Anthropology brand, although it is its own label. It is an Indian label, and actually, it's also the name of a very, very popular Indian TV show. So it's very hard to Google without most of the results being about that TV show. But they have lots of bright colors and fun prints. Retail on their website is in some other currency. I don't know, rupees? I don't know. This is giving me such issues with research. But the anthro pieces, which is mostly what's in comps, mainly retailed for $120 to $250. This is a totally solid higher tier Anthropology brand in terms of comps. They're often reselling in the $50 to $120 range, which is huge value retention for anthro. And some specific dresses do seem particularly sought after, like this purple one that I screenshot, and hopefully Ethan will put here. Anyway, solid grab whenever you find it, but it is anthro, so don't pay more than $15 for a piece, unless it's that purple one or if it's new with tags. Next is Anushka, which is these hand-painted often vintage leather handbags that have some solid resale value. They launched in 1988. They have all like one-of-a-kind hand-painted bags. They're pretty cool, honestly. Uh, they retail between $150 and $300, a bit lower for wallets and smaller purses. They'll have Anushka or Anna handwritten on the outside of the bag. Anna by Anushka is basically just a diffusion line of theirs, and it is super similar resale value to Anushka. These bags resell between $40 and $120, most around 70-ish. You cannot miss these sourcing. Anyone would probably stop to check out like, hey, what is that intricately painted bag? So yeah, I'd get those. Next is Anya Hindmarch. Anya Hindmarch founded her business in London in 1987 and has since grown to be a global brand. Today it is known for its luxury, organization-obsessed accessories and bags. They make women's and men's bags, briefcases of all types. My favorite thing about this brand is that they're known for their like bow tie logo and bags with these googly eyes on them that look like this or like this. And they still charge $400 to $1,500 per bag. I love fashion like that. It just reminds me that none of this really makes any sense, but it all speaks to each of us differently, and I like this brand. Anyway, comps are super solid. No, comps are rocking. Someone sold a little egg charm for $130, okay? It looks like more modern styles are the more sought after ones in this brand. I would say the quirkier purses are definitely the most sought after, but most things are going for over 100, over 200, up to about 800, 900. So, I'd honestly never skip buying an authentic piece from this designer as long as there's still some profit in it and not being charged like $100. But certainly like the Space Invaders line, the Coke bottles line, you know, like there's so many really fun, quirky purses. You think, can you pop those up? No one let me buy one of these, by the way. I don't even carry a purse, but if I was going to hot damn, it'd be from this brand. Although no, it wouldn't, because again, they're very expensive. I'm just gonna admire them from afar. What a fantastic designer. Just keep popping up purses. They're so fun. Okay. Next is Anaïs Jordan. This label was made by Hong Kong-based designer Anaïs Jordan Mack in 2012, so fairly recent. The style self-describes as a subtly perverted take on formal femininity, which is a sentence that I just love. Her designs are worn by a bunch of celebrities, notably Ariana Grande in her Seven Rings music video, and her lines are now debuted every year at Paris Fashion Week. It's sold at like Neiman Marcus and Shopbop and tons of other global retailers. I believe that the retail is mostly around the $400 to $700 range, with jackets and gowns being a bit higher. The resale is not actually very common at all, but mostly they're around $100 with $50 to $200 in range. Just keep an eye out for it and let me know if you sell one and how that goes. And that is the end of AN, which is super long. I think that was the entire video. We just did AN. That's ridiculous. Okay, so we'll see you guys in the next video. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of these. If this is helping you at all, share it with y'all friends. Let people know. Let me know. Let it go. What am I doing? I gotta go. Bye.